as well. Let's move on to the Raiders, because their wide receiver Antonio Brown has been in the headlines for weeks now, and he lost the grievance that he filed with the NFL over the league's enforcement of helmet regulations. He reportedly threatened to quit football. He doesn't need football if he was unable to wear his old helmet, which is no longer allowed under the league's health and safety policy. Brown responded on social media after the hearing, and he wrote, "While I disagree with the arbiter's decision, I'm working on getting back to full health and looking forward to rejoining my teammates on the field. I'm excited about this season, appreciate all the concerns about my feet." I like this message from Antonio Brown. Now, the NFL's new helmet regulations hasn't really only impacted this wide receiver. Here's what Patriots quarterback Tom Brady had to say about his helmet being forbidden by the new league policy.
I've been experimenting with a couple different ones, and I don't really love the one that I'm in, but, I don't really have much of a choice, so I'm just trying to do the best I can to work with it. You kind of get used to the same helmet for a long period of time, and I did that. And my last helmet, I wore in the last 4 Super Bowls, so it was a pretty great helmet for me, and I hated to put it on the shelf, but, that was kind of what they said to do, so kind of what I'm dealing with, and I'm working with something else.
For now, it seems to be over. Brady has a new helmet this year. Aaron Rodgers does. All players do under these safety-first regulations, so that's not up for debate.
Right.
You brought up something, though, Nate, yesterday about him being away from the team. Yeah. Just be there, and he wasn't. So if you were in that locker room, and be real with me, how are you receiving Antonio Brown?
If he wasn't Antonio Brown, wouldn't talk to him. If he wasn't a superstar wide receiver, I wouldn't address him. If he wasn't the player that can come in and change the complexion of our offense, he'd just be another dude that I passed by in the locker room and wouldn't say anything to him. Mm-hmm. But because he's Antonio Brown, because he's so special, because he's so talented, I can care less about what he's been through. I can care less that his feet look like the face of the lady from Tales from the Crypt. Mm-hmm. I can care less that he wants to wear a different type. He could wear a hat with a propeller on top. I can care less. He's Antonio Brown. So that's the realistic approach of teammates. I played with Randy Moss. I played with Calvin Johnson. Luckily, they were good teammates. But I oftentimes thought, if these guys were jerks, would I still accept them as my teammate? And the answer is yes every single time, because they're that talented.
And from a business sense, the Raiders are pot committed to him because they're going to Vegas in a year, and they brought in Antonio Brown, and they got to sell suites in Vegas. They've got to get this move. They got to get some momentum to this. They've got John Gruden for a reported $100 million deal on the books. They've got Antonio Brown for all this money. They need this to work. He's selfish in this whole fight with the helmet. I think it's about him and not about the team. But guess what? He can hold them hostage in a lot of ways because they're not going to get rid of him. They need Antonio Brown. He is there to sell tickets. He is there to add excitement. And when he is on the field, he is going to be very good. They need to win games this year. They're much better with Antonio Brown. They aren't. So welcome back, buddy. That a boy.
But trade face-off, the Steelers that would have said that a year ago that they
Steelers don't have to sell
a
ticket for the next 500
Steelers,
years.
they're the bedrock. We're all on the same page. It's just, I'll say this plainly. If you're an Oakland Raider, you know Antonio Brown is a weird guy. Like, Antonio Brown is a household name. You followed him. He's an eccentric dude. You also know that if you've been there for several years, you've probably been a loser for several years. Like, you're a Raider. Like, they have not won. And that guy is so good that I don't care about his feet or his helmet. Like, can we win some damn games here? I would also say this. When he walks into the locker room, whenever it may be, I'm very wary of, am I going to be on HBO and featured on this? Because I know this is going to be central. And if I have some conversation with him by my locker, am I now projected across HBO? Because I got it broken down like this. The 3 most anticipated episodes ever in the history of HBO.
What do you got?
Number 1, the Game of Thrones Battle of the Dead episode, which is episode 3 of the last season. Number 2, the Sopranos finale. He had just killed Christopher. Everyone was watching it. And number 3, Hard Knocks Tonight. It is that big. The stakes are that huge. And we got stars doing weird things on HBO. It's what the whole network was built on. So as a teammate, I'm almost like, I don't really want part. Can I just go lift and block my guy? It's actually an interesting thing if you're not interested in that platform.
It's an extra added element. It is.
And we'll be looking at Gruden so quickly before we hit a break really quick. Schrags, you mentioned Gruden yesterday. I thought it was very interesting. His role in all of this, how imperative was the way he handled this and how the team sort of celebrates him coming back?
Got his players back. We're in with him. Look, I actually, what I appreciate was like you all were laughing and smarting about his feet, and it was actually a serious issue, and it's taken care of, but it's not a funny matter. I mean, Gruden's got his players back. Players love John Gruden. That was a good example of how.
Hard Knocks, 10 p.m. Eastern on HBO tonight. Kyle, I'm looking over Peter's shoulder, and I'm seeing 4 candles still lit. Yeah. 4.
I know.
We will get
More
to
guys
them.
still.
One of them, particularly a pass rusher, a Pro Bowler named Jadeveon Clowney. What's the latest? I have the guy to ask, guys, joining the show.
Who should we ask?
Bill O'Brien coming on Good Morning Football.
Great.
The hard-hitting question.